More than just a mistake. Todd began typing nervously. Brittany hovered nearby, clearly rattled. After a few tense minutes, Todd looked up. There's something strange. These charges, they weren't supposed to be applied, and it looks like it's not just her account. Vin narrowed his eyes. How many? Todd swallowed hard. Dozens, maybe hundreds, mostly elderly customers. It wasn't a glitch, it was a scheme, a quiet one, hidden in plain sight, profiting from those least able to fight back when a voice becomes a movement. Vin pulled out his phone. He began filming. This is a bank manager admitting his bank has been draining elderly customers' accounts with unjust fees. This isn't a policy, it's exploitation, and we're not going to be silent. Todd raised his hands. Please, we'll fix it. Vin didn't stop filming. Fix it? That's not enough. We're going to get justice for everyone you hurt. And justice came faster than anyone expected. Real change, real consequences. Within days, the video went viral. Public outrage exploded. News outlets picked it up. The bank was forced to respond. An audit was launched. Todd and Brittany were both fired. The bank publicly apologized and refunded every affected account, plus compensation. Clara wasn't just reimbursed. She became a symbol of dignity, and she wasn't alone anymore. After the story aired, another woman came forward. Eleanor Garcia, a 92-year-old war widow from Arizona. She had also been charged unexplained fees. When asked why she hadn't complained sooner, she said, "I didn't think anyone would listen." How many more like Eleanor are out there? James Carter, a retired school teacher, saw Vin's video and went straight to his local branch. "I've been losing $30 a month for years. They said it was maintenance. I didn't question it until now." James later joined a group lawsuit that brought even more banks under investigation. One video, one voice, and a ripple effect across the country. The lesson Vin left behind. Vin didn't do it for the cameras. He didn't post for likes or headlines. He stood up because it was right, because respect shouldn't depend on your balance, because justice shouldn't need a celebrity to show up. But sometimes it does. Sometimes it takes someone like Vin Diesel, someone with influence and a sense of duty, to remind the rest of us of something simple. Never look away. What this story means for us. So what do we take from this? Not just that injustice exists, but that we can do something about it. That every time we choose to stay silent, someone like Clara suffers alone. That policies without empathy are just cruelty in disguise. And that the fight for fairness isn't about grand gestures. It's about standing beside people when no one else will. Vin Diesel could have walked by. He could have ignored the scene, but he didn't. Because courage isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just a man in a baseball cap saying, "This isn't right." And in that moment, the world changed. Elderly woman humiliated at the bank. Everyone freezes when Vin Diesel walks in. Some stories don't begin with fireworks. They begin with silence. Quiet, overlooked, almost invisible. But within them lies something powerful. Something that can expose a truth, shake systems, and remind us that no act of courage is ever wasted. This story begins in a bustling bank and ends with justice, and not just for one person. It ends with a reckoning. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, because first, it begins with an old woman and a mistake. Or was it? The quiet struggle of Clara Jenkins. It was just another Wednesday in the city. The kind of day where everything feels rushed. People walking with their heads down. eyes locked on their phones. But for Clara Jenkins, that day had a different weight. Clara wasn't a wealthy woman. She wasn't famous. She wasn't particularly loud or demanding. She had lived most of her life quietly, working, raising kids, surviving. That's what elderly people like Clara often do. They survive, silently. But survival doesn't always mean dignity. That afternoon, Clara walked into her neighborhood bank branch. The place was packed. Customers lined up, tapping their feet, glancing at watches, while employees scurried behind desks caught in a frenzy of routine. Clutching a worn envelope, Clara waited. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from a lifetime of enduring. That envelope contained documents she didn't fully understand, but she knew something was wrong. Charges on her account didn't make sense. Fees had appeared suddenly, quietly draining her limited funds. She wasn't there to make trouble. She just wanted answers and a little fairness. The indifference of power, Clara approached the counter. The teller, Brittany Parker, barely looked up. Young, distracted, and overworked, Brittany sighed the moment she saw Clara's age. "Good afternoon, ma'am. How can I help you?" she asked without sincerity. Clara's voice was soft. "There are some charges I don't understand. I brought my papers. I was hoping someone could help me." Brittany took the envelope with mechanical disinterest. She flipped through the pages as if they were an inconvenience. "These charges are standard, ma'am, all outlined in the agreement when you open the account." "But I never saw these fees before," Clara said, gently pleading. "They appeared out of nowhere. I've kept my account clean for years." Brittany rolled her eyes. "Ma'am, maybe you don't understand how banking works. You need to keep more money in your account if you want to avoid charges." Laughter from nearby customers. Whispering. Clara's face flushed with shame. It wasn't just the words. It was the tone, dismissive, cold, humiliating. Todd Murphy, the corporate face of cruelty. The bank manager, Todd Murphy, approached. His sharp suit and sharper attitude immediately shifted the energy in the room. "Is there a problem?" he asked, already assuming who was in the wrong. Clara tried again. "I just want someone to take a look. I've always kept my account in order." Todd didn't even pretend to listen. "You should have read the fine print. Everything is outlined clearly. We can't change automatic charges. If you can't afford the fees, maybe this isn't the right bank for you." Those words, they broke something. The humiliation was no longer private. It was public, sanctioned by authority, and dismissed as policy. What Todd didn't know, what none of them knew, was that someone had been watching, a stranger among them. He wasn't flashy. In fact, he looked like just another guy. Baseball cap, plain jacket, walking softly across the floor. But when he spoke, the entire bank froze. "Why are you speaking to her like that?" Everyone turned. The voice was calm but firm, unshakable. It was Vin Diesel. Yes, that Vin Diesel. Star of high-octane blockbusters. Tough guy on screen, but known in real life for something deeper. Compassion, humility, and a refusal to tolerate injustice. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He just stood beside Clara and made the world pay attention. A moment of confrontation. Todd tried to recover. "Mr. Diesel, I had no idea you were here, but this really isn't your concern." Vin's response was measured. "It is my concern, because the way you treat people who can't fight back, that's everybody's concern." He turned to Clara. May I see your documents? Clara handed him the envelope. He studied the papers for a moment before nodding. These fees are illegitimate, and you're going to fix this. Todd hesitated, but Vin wasn't done. Let me be clear, he said, his voice firm. If this is an error, you'll fix it. If it's a pattern, if you've been doing this to others, you're going to face something much bigger. The bank was silent. People who'd once ignored Clara now stared, listening to every word Vin spoke.